I decided to include this one for my birthday week because Obsession has become just that, an obsession of mine. I absolutely love talking about this movie. So here we go, my long awaited, long winded rant about Obsession and Bear. Hey, gals and ghouls, it's Holly, your resident final girl and scream queen with Marley. I have 36 reasons why I hate Bear. Why I think that Bear is the worst kind of human being alive. We start the movie with Bear, who seems like he's supposed to be our main character. We see him pouring his heart out at a diner, and we're immediately led to believe this guy is just hopelessly in love. Until we realize he's actually talking to a waitress. Reason number one, his speech at the beginning of the movie. In his speech, all he does is mention what Nikki has done for him, how she has made him feel. He never once mentions any actual characteristics, any actual attributes of Nikki's. It's just what she's done for him. He is in love with the idea of her and in love with how she makes him feel, not with who she is as a person. His friend Ian is there with him, giving him some truly terrible dating advice, including telling him to call Nikki, his crush, Freaky Nikki, like they did back in high school, because nothing says romance quite like bringing up an embarrassing nickname. After they leave, Bear heads home where he finds that his cat Sandy has died after getting into medication that belonged to his grandmother, who also recently died. This movie is giving us tons of reasons to sympathize with Bear. He's grieving, and now he's alone. This is also a moment that starts to show us something important about his character. Reason number two. The first thing that he says is, "Sandy, what did you do?" Instead of taking any personal responsibility for the fact that he left these pills out, he not only left them out, but he left them open or openable, because it's not like cats have thumbs that they can just open a pill bottle. The cat couldn't just go into the cabinet. Later, Nikki calls Bear to make sure he's still coming to their weekly trivia night with Ian and Sarah. During their conversation, she tells him that she's put in her 2 weeks' notice at the store where they all work, and while on the phone, she drops her crystal necklace down the drain. I guess this is where Bear decides that he's going to be chivalrous, and he gets the idea to replace it for her. So he heads to a shop looking for a new one. But instead, something else catches his attention. The One Wish Willow, a mysterious box that promises to grant one wish. Now, I don't know about you, but if I walked into a shop and saw a box that claimed to grant your wish while casually sitting next to a display of voodoo dolls, well, that would probably be my sign to leave. But Bear decides that this is the perfect gift. Instead of just getting the necklace that she would love, a replacement necklace for her, instead decides to buy a novelty toy. He had the crystal in his hand. You could have saved us all a lot of trouble if you had just bought the damn necklace. If you had just replaced the crystal necklace, which is what would have meant more to her, instead of getting what you ended up wanting, what ended up piquing his interest. Also, number four, the One Wish Willow literally has warnings on the box, and product placement, it is literally placed right next to voodoo dolls. Most people know not to play with those as well. Gift. The group meets up for trivia night. Bear, Ian, Sarah, and Nikki, and Bear decides this is finally the moment he's going to tell Nikki how he feels, which is already awkward because why are we doing this during a group outing? Number five, he planned to tell Nikki how he felt at trivia night, at this group setting. That is just so selfish and uncomfortable. Nikki eventually goes to the bar to get some shots, and Bear follows her, hoping to have that conversation again. But Ian interrupts. Then Sarah interrupts. And Bear never actually gets the chance to tell Nikki how he feels. Eventually, the night ends and Bear drives Nikki home. During the car ride, Nikki opens up about why she's decided to leave the job, and she tells Bear she wants to write a love story. Bear asks if she means a romance, and Nikki says no, because there is a difference.
Bear doesn't seem to understand that love and romance are not the same thing.
Nikki, he doesn't understand that romance and love are two different things. And you know what, granted, I can kind of excuse this one because I know that they are supposed to be young, but still sucks. Anyway,
Nikki then brings up Sarah and asks Bear if he knows that Sarah has feelings for him. She asks him how he feels about that, and Bear completely avoids the conversation. He knows that Sarah likes him. He just doesn't want to acknowledge it. Fine.
Number 7. Now, the reason that I point this out is because it just kind of also shows that all of these people suck at communicating. It just sucks. Like, if you know that somebody has feelings for you and you're not interested, maybe you should just let them know.
Finally, Nikki asks him directly if he has feelings for her, and my boy Bear chickens out. Well, he's not my boy, scratch that. He says no. Nikki says, okay, good.
You had the perfect opportunity and you wasted it. Number 9, calls her Freaky Nikki. Need I say more?
She gets out of the car, and instead of giving her the One Wish Willow, the gift he bought specifically for her, Bear uses it himself. He wishes that Nikki will love him more than anyone else in the world, and this is where the movie really starts to change.
Number 10. He ends up using the One Wish Willow on himself. Now, I can kind of see how people might not think that this is a negative point to his character, but it is because of the fact that he could have just given it to her at any other time. He bought it for her and selfishly decides to just use it on himself.
Because the willow isn't just granting wishes, it's reflecting what is already inside the person who uses it. At least in my opinion. More on that later. Nikki comes back to the car acting completely different. She tells Bear that her cat has died and she doesn't want to be alone. Bear is confused and says, "Don't you mean my cat?" And she's just like, "Oh yeah." Then she reveals that her father is dying from cancer. And this is honestly the first major sign that the willow is acting like a mirror. Bear lost Sandy. Nikki mistakenly says that her cat has died. Bear lost his grandmother to illness. Now Nikki is dealing with losing her father. The willow is taking Bear's experiences and reflecting them back through Nikki. Bear takes Nikki back to his house. Things get a little hot and heavy, but suddenly Nikki freaks out. When Bear questions her, she mentions again her current situation, and the two decide to go to sleep.
When she has the first freak out, he instantly rushes to say, "You kissed me." Again, no accountability.
The next day, they go to work together. Ian asks Bear how the night went while Nikki is standing maybe 10 feet away. And they're having this entire conversation right in front of her. It's incredibly awkward.
Number 12. Nikki is standing like 10 feet away. They're having this full-blown conversation about her pretty much right in front of her. And if that's not shitty, then I don't know what is. And basically kind of talking shit about someone or divulging personal information about something that happened the night before while they're just feet away. Oh, I'm going to start getting more and more annoyed as the points go on.
Later, Nikki shows up to Bear's house. She explains that she does in fact have feelings for him and that he wasn't taking advantage of her. But before she can finish explaining herself, Bear interrupts. "You kissed me." And that moment says a lot, because Bear isn't actually listening to what Nikki is saying. He's waiting for his chance to respond. And
Number 13. He doesn't hear a single thing that she's saying. He focuses in on one thing. Part of being friends with someone or being in a relationship with someone is really trying to listen to what they're saying and to respond to the feelings in the conversation, not to just respond. You know, don't cut someone off just to interject without having fully understood what was said.
And suddenly, Bear and Nikki are a couple. We get this cute little montage of Bear and Nikki doing couple things. They're together. They're in love. They're happy. Everything seems perfect. And then we get to the restaurant scene. Ian calls Bear and tells him that he looked into what Nikki said about her father having cancer, and apparently, he doesn't. Ian says Nikki's dad is as healthy as a baby, and he doesn't understand why she would lie about something like that.
Number 14. When they go out to dinner, Ian calls and, they have the whole conversation about how her dad doesn't really have cancer. So he goes back to the table. She gifts him a crystal, again, just to show that, crystals were important. And he asks her if it was true about her dad. Why did she lie about her dad having cancer? This is not the time and place to have that conversation with someone. While I understand, Marley's snoring. While I understand that that's a frustrating thing to hear and, you want to know what's going on, you don't have personal conversations like that in public. If you were really that concerned, you could have said like, hey, something's come up, we have to leave, go home, whatever. Have the conversation at home.
Bear goes back to the table and confronts Nikki, and this leads to the whole no scene.
No.
What?
No, don't do that!
Afterwards, Nikki asks Bear why it matters, and Bear says, it doesn't matter to me. Okay, Bear. The next scene cuts to them in bed.
Number 16, nothing matters to him other than being with his fictitious version of Nikki. After that, he wakes up in the middle of the night to realize that Nikki is not in bed.
As his eyes adjust to the darkness, we see her standing in the corner. First, she tells him, go back to sleep. I'm watching you sleep. You're so cute when you sleep. And then she starts sobbing. She tells him that she feels like he doesn't love her as much as she loves him. Her crying is intense. It's this deep, gut-wrenching sob. And then she starts doing this strange little shuffle towards him with a flower vase covering her face, only to casually say, these are for Sandy. And then just goes back to sleep. For a second, until Bear tries to get up and she yells. But Bear does eventually fall back asleep. I don't really know how, but somehow he does.
How in the hell are you still able to fall asleep after this? What is wrong with you that you were able to fall asleep after this?
The next morning, Bear wakes up and realizes Nikki has cut his hair, and his response is, let's not do that. That's it.
17, let's not do that.
She also packed him lunch, which at first seems cute, until Bear is getting ready to leave and turns towards the door and realizes that it is completely duct taped shut. Nikki casually tells him, maybe you should just stay. Luckily for Bear, the door opens with surprisingly little effort, which honestly made me laugh because if you're going to trap someone inside a house, maybe commit to it a little bit more.
Number 18, the door is taped shut, like top to bottom, taped shut. And he just kind of like, okay, see you later, hun, and just leaves. If that was me, I mean, I would have left much sooner, but if that was me, I would have went straight down to anywhere and been like, hey, I think that my significant other is having like a mental breakdown. Like, this is not normal. But no, he just goes to work.
Bear makes it to work, and during his break, he's talking with Sarah while eating the sandwich Nikki made for him. He's looking through the pictures that she's put in the lunchbox, and underneath one of the pictures, it says, not me. Sarah starts expressing her concerns about the relationship and asks Bear about the message Nikki wrote on his lunch container. How about cat? And then we realize what Nikki meant. Bear is eating Sandy. He immediately throws up, and when Sarah's asking him what's wrong and what the note meant, all Bear can say is, it's an inside joke.
Number 19, he realizes that he just ate part of Sandy. And instead of explaining to his friend Sarah that something is terribly, terribly wrong with Nikki, he just throws it up and says, it's an inside joke.
After work, Ian asks Bear for a ride home because he didn't bring his car. During the drive, Ian tells Bear that everyone thinks that this is super fucking weird. Why are you trying to ruin something good? Only for him to turn around 2 seconds later and say, she's the one who won't leave me alone.
Number 20. That just goes to show you what a coward he is. Like, he just refuses to take any type of, again, accountability or responsibility, doesn't want to explain, hey, maybe this would have been a good time for him to be like, hey, you know what? Look at this box, this One Wish Willow. Yeah, this is what's going on. Nope. Instead, he is now blaming his friend Ian for, trying to ruin something good. But then a minute later is, well, she's the one who won't leave me alone. She's the one who's obsessed with me. Like, which is it? It's something good, or she won't leave you alone. You can't have it both ways.
After this, Bear decides to look into the One Wish Willow box and calls customer service to see if he can alter the wish. Yes, alter the wish.
Swear to God, if you haven't realized by now that Bear is the villain. 21, he calls to alter the wish. He calls customer service on the back of the box, and he is on the phone, and he tells him that he wants to alter the wish. And the customer service rep on the phone tells him you can't alter the wish. He didn't want to just cancel it right off the bat. He wanted to alter it because, again, he's such a selfish piece of shit that it's no... He just wants to alter it so that she's normal again. So, he still wants her to be in love with him, but he just wants her to act normally and not be so crazy. And when he's told that he can't alter the wish, then he says, okay, fine, you know what? Yeah, okay, I want to cancel it. To which he's then also told he can't do that. So it's kind of just like, you know what? You deserve that shit. But the customer service rep says, do you want to speak to Nikki? And then we instantly just hear this guttural, gut-wrenching screaming. And he says, do you want to talk to her? And all you hear is Nikki screaming. And Bear just hangs up. That's it. He just hangs up. He cannot stand to listen to the sound of her screaming. And he hangs up. By the way, that was 21 and 22.
So he returns home and finds Nikki exactly where he left her. She is covered in multiple bodily fluids, and somehow Bear is just... Bear.
This is 23, and, we see that she has been standing in the same spot since he left, and God knows how long that's been. He goes to shower. He just starts to tell her that, you know what, you can't cook the cat. I'm very upset with you.
He tells Nikki that Ian invited him out for a boys' night. Nikki responds that Sarah said she was going too, so of course, everyone ends up at the party, and Ian isn't thrilled. Especially when Nikki starts reading something she's been working on, and what she wrote is basically an incestuous version of Hansel and Gretel. Now, to me, this is another moment that shows that Nikki never saw Bear as a love interest. She saw him as a brother. During one of the party games, Bear pulls a block that tells him to kiss the person to his left, and that person happens to be Sarah. Nikki immediately becomes upset, giving quite possibly the best frown I've ever seen. She moves Sarah's chair out of the way and replaces it with herself. And then the real Nikki appears. She starts screaming, "It's not me," and proceeds to smash herself in the face with a broken bottle. And Bear's reaction to this moment is probably one of the most important parts of the movie. He's shocked for maybe 5 seconds, but his facial expression quickly just turns into contempt. He's not worried about Nikki.
Number 24. While this is going on, everyone else is rightfully so freaking out, and Bear is just sitting there like he is not upset. He is not concerned. He is annoyed because she has now, again, acted crazy, but not only did she act crazy and weird, she did it in front of a room full of people. She ruined his night, and now everybody's upset and everybody's uncomfortable, and it's obviously her fault because she's the one acting weird.
He's embarrassed. We then see Bear and Nikki outside of the hospital. We don't hear what happens, but
so I guess at this point he did attempt to take her to the hospital. We do see that scene, but we don't know what is said.
They eventually go home, and when they are home, Nikki's face is still covered in blood. and Bear hasn't even tried to help clean her up.
Again, no concern. Nothing. She's literally just sitting there still bloodied up and is just like, oh, okay. So that brings to my next point.
Bear tells Nikki, "You were beautiful and normal." Me doing my best insult impersonation. Beautiful and normal.
26. Beautiful and normal. Again, now he's only starting to care about the negative impaction of this wish because now she is no longer beautiful or normal.
That is what mattered to him. He then asks her, "Is Nikki happy? Does Nikki even like me?" And she responds, "Of course, I'm your freaky Nikki."
Number 27. You know she's not happy because you heard her screaming on the phone. Why are you still trying to delude yourself into believing that there is nothing wrong and that you were doing nothing wrong?
I just want you to act like Nikki.
28. I just want you to act like Nikki. Because he knows that it's not Nikki. Because he knows that she's suffering. Because he knows that this is wrong, but he doesn't care. He just wants her to be Nikki. He just wants her to be normal. He wants her to be Nikki, but in love with him, not acting weird, so that he can still have his cake and eat it too.
Now, this is probably one of the creepiest parts of the movie, if not the creepiest part. During this argument, Nikki ends up walking backwards, in reverse, because I believe her speech was in reverse at this point too. To me, it just seems like the internal real Nikki and freaky Nikki were just completely at odds at this point. Fast forward, they go to sleep. Bear is awoken from a text message from Sarah. She says that she needs to talk to him and she wants him to meet her at the park. Bear says he can't, and Sarah says, "You come to me or I'm coming to you." So, as Bear starts sneaking away, he hears Nikki talking. Except, it's not freaky Nikki. It's the real Nikki. She tells him that the other version of her is asleep.
Number 29.
Real Nikki is begging him, "Please kill me." And Bear's response is, "What's so bad about being with me?" To which Nikki replies, "I've never been with you."
This one is just like icing on the cake. Number 30. She tells him, "Please kill me. Please kill me." She is suffering. We heard her suffering. And this motherfucker says, "What's so bad about being with me?" I mean, I'm sure to someone there's nothing wrong with being with you, but I'm gonna take a real big stab in the dark here. Just if you're being forced to be with someone and you have no control over your body or anything else, then yeah, there is something bad about being with someone. But the thing that she says next, which is absolutely heartbreaking, she says, "I've never been with you." So Nikki has just been sitting here almost like in the second place from Get Out, or how the people in Get Out, like, they can still visually see everything going on and they have no control over themselves. I assume it's something similar to that. And when you think about that, she's literally being essayed repeatedly by someone who she cared about as a friend and thought of as a brother. And if you don't see a problem with that, in addition to everything else that's already wrong here, if you don't see a problem with that, then like you have a serious problem at this point. And then what does he do? He still walks out. He walks out. He ignores her pleas to please kill her. She sounds desperate, and he just walks out to go meet up with Sarah.
Bear meets Sarah at the park, and she continues explaining how worried she is about his relationship with Nikki and how Nikki is taking advantage of him. She tells him that something is wrong. And honestly, everyone knows something is wrong. Sarah also reveals something else. Ian and Nikki have actually been casually hooking up for the last 2 years. And then because apparently this situation just wasn't messy enough, Bear and Sarah start flirting.
Sarah is being just a little bit of a pick-me. and he starts flirting with her. Like, I can guarantee you if the next thing that happened didn't happen, he probably would have gone back to her home and slept with her. Just because he seems like that type.
Before anything can really happen, Nikki shows up, and from the camera angles, we knew it was going to happen. There was no possible way it wasn't going to happen. But it's still shocking. She crashes through the window with a brick and attacks Sarah. She repeatedly smashes Sarah's face into the brick, and afterward she turns to Bear and says, "I'm so sorry you had to see that." But then she reminds him, "Don't forget, you wished for this." And she's not wrong. Bear asked for this. He didn't wish for Nikki to be happy. He didn't wish for the confidence to speak up for himself. He wished for control. He wished to be loved more than anyone else in the world, and the Willow is giving him exactly that.
Number 32. Nikki breaks through the window and proceeds to bash Sarah's face into the steering wheel. And on my third watch, when I decided to do my notes for the movie, I counted, and I believe she bashed her face into the steering wheel not once, not twice, not 10 times, not 15 times, 25 times before she finally stopped. And the reason that I'm saying that this is number 32, that Bear is a piece of shit and a terrible human being, was not once in 25 times did he attempt to intervene to save his friend. Not once. How much of a garbage person do you have to be to see that happening? You know what? I can even say, okay, the first 2 times you're just like in shock because it came out of left field. Fine. But 25 times? 25 times. He possibly could have saved Sarah, but because he is such a fucking coward, he did not.
Bear helps Nikki get rid of Sarah's body, or so we think. Later, he finds Sarah's letter and discovers that she actually got accepted into the art school she applied for. And that's another life ruined by Bear. Sarah. She had dreams, and those dreams were taken away due to Bear's selfishness. Bear then goes back to the shop where he bought the One Wish Willow, and still playing the main character victim, he blames the employee for selling it to him. Also, this employee is a whole vibe. Bear decides the solution is to buy another willow, because apparently the answer to one cursed wooden stick is another cursed wooden stick.
Number 33, he goes back to the store and he blames the employee for selling the One Wish Willow. He's like, "How could you sell this to people?" To which the employee responds, "There's warnings all over the box. You didn't have to buy it." Still trying so hard to negate the fact that these things are happening because of him. He just wants someone else to blame for all of this.
He goes to Ian's house and asks him to make a counter wish. And then he says something that really just says a lot about how Bear is and how he views people. He tells Ian, "Once she's not obsessed with me anymore, you can have her." Because apparently Nikki is just something to be passed around. She's just a possession for the enjoyment of others, specifically men. Ian doesn't believe that the willow is real. He wishes for $1 million, and then we get one of the funniest scenes in the entire movie. Money just starts raining from the sky, and Bear's face is absolutely priceless because at this point he's completely exhausted, and it's exactly what he deserves.
So, number 34, he proceeds to tell Ian, once the wish is broken, you can have her. So it's basically just kind of like, she's still a possession. She's a possession to be had, and since he no longer wants her, okay, you know what, Ian, you can have her. Take her off of my plate. He still does not acknowledge that Nikki was a person and not a possession.
He returns back to his house and he finds Sarah's body propped up in a chair and she's been stripped naked. We see Nikki behind him, and the way Nikki walks here almost reminds me of a marionette being controlled by invisible strings. To me, those strings are the One Wish Willow tying her directly to Bear. His desperation, his insecurity, and his obsession are all being mirrored onto her. It just goes to show that Nikki hasn't been in control of anything. She's simply being pulled along like a puppet, forced to act out all of the shitty consequences of Bear's wish. Nikki is standing there with tattoos she's drawn all over herself and possibly Sarah's hair. It's a little unclear. She's crying. She's asking why he can't just love her. She has a gun, and she is unraveling pretty much the same way he is. Ian bursts through the door at the worst moment possible, and Nikki basically dispatches of him very quickly. Bear manages to calm Nikki down. He tells her she's beautiful. He loves her, and Nikki responds, "Oh, I know what you want." Bear runs into the bathroom saying he needs to freshen up, but he now has the gun, and he looks at himself in the mirror and he plans to shoot himself. At this point, you think, maybe Bear finally realizes what he's done. Maybe this is the moment he's going to take responsibility. But he changes his mind.
Number 35. He goes to shoot himself to break the curse. He goes to shoot himself while looking in the mirror. Like, if you really wanted to do this, were you really going to sit there taking the time to look in the mirror? I don't know. Maybe this one shouldn't be a point, but it is. So 35, he goes to shoot himself looking in the mirror.
Then he decides he's going to take the pills that Sandy ingested earlier. And for a second, okay, again, Bear, you're going to finally make the right choice. Until he starts trying to throw up the pills. Because of course. And just as he's starting to get them out, we hear it, folks. The sound of the One Wish Willow box.
No. Number 36, after watching this 3 times, I did finally realize, even with everything going on, knowing that he was going to have to die to break this curse, even after his friends have been murdered and just everything going on, he goes to vomit up the pills. And I have seen people arguing about this online, that they don't think that that's the case, but it is. I watched the movie 3 times. He starts to vomit up the pills before we hear the One Wish Willow box making the noise, and then he stops because that is presumably when Freaky Nikki has made the wish that he will love her as much as she loves him. So even after everything, he still was too cowardly and too selfish to fix the situation. And granted, I'm not advocating for somebody to unalive themselves, but in the context of the movie, unfortunately, his death is what needed to happen, and he still makes the wrong choice.
Bear stops. He walks back out. He looks at Nikki, and we realize Nikki has made the same wish that this movie has started with. She's wished that Bear would love her more than anyone else in the world. And at this point, Bear's obsession is exactly what destroys him. We have come full circle because Bear did not get all of the pills out. He dies, the curse is broken, and poor Nikki is left to deal with the aftermath. The One Wish Willow didn't create Bear's obsession with Nikki. It didn't turn him into someone else. It's like that saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
There you go. 36 reasons that Bear is just the worst person in the world.
I'm not done yet.
37. He doesn't immediately freak out when he sees that she's made a shrine using Sandy's body. 38. He wants to be a food critic, yet he couldn't taste weeks-old, dead, festering cat. Give me a fucking break. And now, a word from my friends, the international superstar Moby Lee and the strange monkey.
What up? It's your boy, the international superstar Moby Lee. And first off, I want to thank Holly for allowing me to jump back on this channel for this collab. Now, we're talking about Obsession. And Obsession, it just so happens to have my girlfriend, Nikki. Now, if you don't believe that's my girl, you can see on my broken phone, she got a heart right next to her name. It wasn't broken before, but she's saying that I had a girl on my lock screen, even though the girl was fictional with Harley Quinn. She got mad and threw it. But that's besides the point. Me and Nikki are going strong. And if you don't believe me, look, let me play some stuff for you to show you how happy me and Nikki are in our relationship. Hold on. Here we go. It's loading right now. Listen.
He's waiting for you.
Cute. Waiting for me because she loves me. Here's another one.
Love you so much.
You see that? I've always wanted to be loved so much. And I get that from Nikki. That idiot Bear, he forced her against her will with that one wish willow. He didn't even feel bad what he was doing. Unlike me and Nikki, who it's 100% consensual.
Promise me you'll never, ever, ever leave me. Ever?
I won't. And you know I won't. Because I love you, girl. Oh, man. This is... here's another one.
We'll be together forever. Ever and ever.
She is so cute. I love her so much. And I just want to say that everyone in this movie is trash except for Nikki, who was the best. Ian, trash. Horrible person, horrible friend. I don't remember the other girl's name, but she sucks as well because she went behind Nikki's back and tried to steal her man and confess her feelings when she knows they're in a relationship. Trash. All of them trash. They all suck, except for Nikki, who's the best and deserves better. Bear, I'm not going to say if you see this because you can't, because you're no longer alive, because you're a loser. But Obsession, to me, gets a 10 out of 10. And I give my girl Nikki a 1,000 out of 10. Not only that regular Nikki deserved better, but also wish Nikki deserved better. Because she was created to love Bear and even take good care of her because he's a scumbag. Thank you for having me. Thumbs up this video. Make sure y'all go on and subscribe to Holly. She does amazing stuff. She's always putting out new stuff with new horror stuff and not just reviewing the videos, but also doing skits and stuff like that, doing this different range of things with her channel, and she's growing. Like, she hasn't even done this for a super long time, and she's already at the level she is. Imagine where she's going to be. So hop on this journey and subscribe to Holly. Until next time, y'all, thank you for having me. I'm about to go spend some time with Nikki. I'll see you later.
Hello there, everyone. It is I, the Strange Monkey, and I have been invited by Horror Holly to share my thoughts on Obsession, specifically on this guy named Bear. That's right, the main character in this film, who is incredibly selfish. You understand what I'm saying? Listen to the third hand. The third hand knows everything. And the third hand is telling me to tell you that Bear is an asshole. That's right. He's very, very selfish. Because if he had the confidence in the beginning of this film to actually tell Nikki from his heart that he likes her, he wouldn't be in the situation that he's in right now. Not at all. But no, he had to go and buy this one wish willow and say, I wish for Nikki to love me more than anybody in the world. No, sir. You should have been confident and tell her, yes, Nikki, I like you. And now all hell is breaking loose, left and right, and you are responsible for this. Shame on you, Bear. Shame on you. Bear should be locked up forever and ever for this. Because poor Nikki is suffering while this entity, whatever the hell this thing is taking control of her. Other than that, everything's great.